eye contact with my camera because I feel like it's more. I'm raised in Mississippi, so I've got that like southern thing in me where I'm like, you need to make eye contact with the person you're talking to. So now
that's fine.
I feel odd.
You've surely seen that creepy NVIDIA thing that they added where they put the.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah, where it's like, it always maintains eye contact with the webcam, and it looks so fucking creepy.
That is terrifying. That's true, like, terrifying future technology.
Yeah, but because you can tell something's off, and it's like, if you try to blink, it like won't do it exactly, so like the eyes just kind of wince a little, and it looks weird. It's like I've talked to some people with corporate over Zoom calls, and it's like, I see what demographic this is for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some of them, I think they're trained like they never break eye contact with the webcam, and you experience that, and it's like, okay, I see where they want to deploy this, but for anything else, it just looks so unnatural.
Do you still
people don't like that?
Do you still work a job where you working for corporate?
Nothing on that level. I'm more just I can't remember. So it was 2 years ago when we talked. I was definitely out of my more office work then. But no, the stuff I do now is mainly, when I'm doing it, it's more independent. It's just sort of contract work.
Before I forget to do this, because I've forgotten to do this on so many episodes so far of this season.
Sure.
We have to do an intro. I have to do some sort of intro. So, welcome to AnythingCast. I'm Patrick. I'll review anything today. With me, my guest is Mandalore Gaming. Mandalore, say hello.
Howdy. It's great to be back. I can't believe it's been 2 years.
It has been. How different was your life 2 years ago?
It's not too different. I was about to say, it was before COVID and stuff, but then it's like, oh no, COVID was still going on then.
Where
it was.
Have you been playing anything lately? Any of the new releases?
Yeah, it's kind of unusual because I typically hold off on playing a lot of new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff I'm interested in coming out now. There's the Dead Space remake just came out. Callisto Protocol just came out. The System Shock remake's coming up. The sequel to The Forest is coming out next month too.
Sequel to The Forest is coming out soon?
It comes out a week or something.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, but the thing is, I thought it would be a full-fledged, full release game. Apparently, it's still early access, like the first Forest was.
Okay, that makes more sense.
But they're trying to make the early access period, I think, 8 months max or something, because the Forest, I think, was in early access for 4 or 5 years.
It was a long time.
It was a long time. Because I remember looking the other day and going what do you mean the Forest came out in 2014?
Have you been?
What do you mean it's 10 years old? That's when early access when it came out. So. Have
you been playing Hogleg?
Hogleg. I have not been playing Hogleg. What is it? What is a Hogleg?
Harry Potter Hogleg?
No, I'm not 12.
Dude, you haven't played it?
Nope.
I'm making a video on it right now, so it's part of.
How do you like it?
You know what? The review will probably be out by the time this comes out, so I guess I can just talk about it. Yeah.
That makes it easier.
It's not a very it's a perfectly competent, safe gamble of a game. The people who made it obviously didn't care at all about it being a video game or making it an interesting or good video game.
That's kind of what it needed to be, but it also feels like I don't want to say it's too late because the game's sold like fucking hotcakes.
Yes.
Last I saw, it's selling a fuck ton.
Outsold Elden Ring.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts. Okay, I'm full of shit then. Because I was thinking, when I was seeing Harry Potter stuff all over the place was, I guess, 10 years ago, 12, when the movies were ending and it was everywhere. Well, it seems like if something like that had come out then.
I think they tried to appeal to an extremely wide demographic with Hogleg. Mm-hmm. I think that was the direction they took. They were how do we get every single human being interested in playing this? Because it has no direction, if that makes sense.
Which is smart. Because whenever people talked about oh my God, I remember renting those the PS2 ones. Where it's Flipendo over and over again.
Yes, the Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah. Where you go through the like castle and do the puzzles and all that.
Yeah.
And like everyone who talked about Harry Potter's like, man, I wish I could like, choose my house and just like, not like not like Harry Potter Dark RP or something, but just, I wish I could just pretend I was in Hogwarts and just sort of go with whatever, which seems to be what they did.
Were you a Harry Potter guy?
I wasn't a Harry Potter guy. I read the books when I was like the first book I read when it came out was Order of the Phoenix, and that took a fucking while. I can't remember if that's the longest book, but you could kill someone with that hardback.
I think so. I think it's either that or the Goblet of Fire is the longest one. I don't remember.
Yeah, my exposure to Harry Potter was oh my god, this is so long ago. It was some point in elementary school. I can't even guess the exact one. The books were out already, and I think the first movie was like on the way. But I remember they were introducing it like we had I don't want to say Harry Potter recruiter. We had someone in the library like with all our class there, and they were talking and they're like hyping up Harry Potter for us.
Dressed up like a wizard.
Well, they weren't dressed up. Well, might have been, I don't remember, but they just like had the book like it's about Harry Potter, like he's in this magical world and you could do all this stuff. And it was interesting because this was very controversial back then. This got like...
That's true.
The school didn't get in trouble, but because we were in the Bible Belt, there was still like, we knew plenty of people who were not allowed to read Harry Potter because of witchcraft.
Yeah, absolutely. That was big here in Mississippi too.
So you got so like there were people whose parents complained about it, and I remember like checking out, and that made that made me more interested because I mainly read like Goosebumps books, and then hearing that Harry Potter was like this, like it's like about witchcraft. Like I didn't know people not allowed to read Goosebumps, but I had heard of people not allowed to read Harry Potter.
I only read one Goosebumps book, I think.
Do you remember which one it was or what it was about?
Yeah, it was like a boy, and he goes to live with his grandmother, and he gets like a container, like a toxic sludge container of slime.
And monster blood, maybe.
Yes, yeah, monster blood, and then it started taking over the house.
Yeah, monster bloods are okay.
I think it was the first one. I don't really remember. Hold on, I can look up the.
It probably was.
You know them very well somehow, don't you?
Well, for a second, I thought it was the one with the sponge under the sink. It came from beneath the sink because that had the gruel or whatever they called it.
This is it,
like
dude. You were so right.
Yeah, monster blood.
Yeah, it's monster blood. I remember it being kind of mid.
Monster blood is somehow they made like 4 or 5 of them, but they're monster blood wasn't great.
Did you read a lot as a kid?
Oh man. Well, we had a program at our school called Accelerated Reader, which what you would do is they had, I mean, these were very, very simple computers, but you would like, since like SparkNotes and all that stuff didn't exist yet, or Wikipedia really, you would basically read books and then you would take like this quiz on the computer. They would like ask you about plot points, multiple choice questions, and each book was worth like a certain amount of points based on like length and complexity. Oh. So like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings would be like those like the big ones. I don't know. Let's say they're like 80 points. But then like a Goosebumps might be 5 or 7. Things you can knock out Goosebumps if you're determined in like a day or two because they're so short.
I think I remember this being at my school too. It was on the computer, and I have to preface this, and I hate to preface this the way that I'm doing it because I think I've said this on the podcast like 3 times now. But
really?
Yeah, but one of the first books I ever read, the first novel I can say I ever read was The Lord of the Rings, the whole thing.
Wow.
And I was in like 1st grade or something.
Holy shit.
I was a very tiny kid.
Like proper like Fellowship of the Ring and not like The Hobbit.
Yes, yeah, it was the God. I can tell you specifically which one it was. It was like the red leatherback Lord of the Rings book that had like all of them.
Oh man. In 1st grade too, I think he'd be like, wow, this is
It was this one. It's this one. There we go.
Uh-oh.
It was this. My dad had this, and it was the only book that I thought looked really cool. So I read that, and I read that right after reading like a bunch of like learn how to read like intro books. And my dad would read me excerpts from Lord of the Rings when I was going to sleep as a kid.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings is part of like my childhood, honestly.
Yeah.
But I remember this because I read Lord of the Rings and then I lost interest in all other books after that because I was stupid and I looked down on them as like childish. But
well, I mean, when you're in first grade starting with Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
that's
I
a
guess
pretty high bar
I
for
guess.
literature.
But I took the test and for Lord of the Rings, and I was able to do all the Lord of the Rings ones. But that was I remember that me being disappointed that like wasn't enough or something because that wasn't that much points, and I didn't want to read any more books.
Yeah. The scale wasn't great, but you know they had those prizes. If you got the more points you got, you could get your leave class for an hour and hang out in the library pizza party or whatever it was.
Did you ever do any of those like outside of school? Oh, dude, I got bad news.
Oh?
Yeah. For anybody who was listening, I guess that'll be the episode that comes out before this one. But if anybody who was listening to the last episode, the dog update podcast, the dog Izzy, the one that was getting an IV, has officially passed away. She passed away at 7:02 p.m. tonight. Sorry for a little bit of a downer, Mandalore. I just wanted to give that update.
Where is this coming from?
I just got a text message. I swear to God, I just got a text message from Eric, who is my co-host on the show. And we were talking about when the last episode we recorded, I was making a joke that it was the dog update podcast because his dog was sick, Izzy.
Oh my God.
And he just texted me, and I quote, "Izzy passed away at 7:02 p.m. tonight. She was a good dog through and through."
That reminds me of where the red fern grows. That's not a good accelerated reader pick. I'm gonna try to segue you away from this.
Yeah, segue me as hard as possible.
Story. Just by the way, update on the dog. It's dead. You're like, I didn't know there was a dog, but shit, I'm sorry. That's terrible news.
Oh my God, dude. That's I'm sorry to you personally for getting you fine. Included. I figured it would make good content. But yes, the red fern grows.
Yeah, I lied earlier. There was someone who wasn't allowed to read Goosebumps, I knew, and it was me for a while.
Why?
Because I creeped the hell out of my parents.
Why?
And in like second or third grade, I don't remember when it was precisely, but some of the Goosebumps books, they had this thing in the back, and there was like the R.L. Stine Goosebumps fan club. I can't remember how much it was, but it was probably between like $30, $40. You had like, I think it's 20. I don't know how much it was. You'd ask your parents, of course, and they'd send you your skull, your tombstone shaped box that had like all this Goosebumps merchandise memorabilia in it.
And you got that?
I was a good boy and did lots of chores and convinced my dad to do it. And I got it and I was hyped. And so to celebrate this, I started drawing like Goosebumps fan art with like markers and stuff in my room. But in retrospect, I understand it now because I was just like drawing like fun Goosebumps covers.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how terrifying it was until later.
What were you drawing?
I drew like a little like gravestone that's like rip on it with this skeleton hand like coming out and looked like really shitty, you know, because I'm a little kid drawing
That's epic, dude. That's fucking epic.
Yeah. But it said like evil never dies. And I was drawing like weird like monsters and stuff. And so this sounds perfectly fine, except my parents didn't really understand the Goosebumps thing entirely because they just knew it was like some books.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I had a pile of them. I was, you know, like renting one from the library for like 2 or 3 days, reading it, then like checking out another one. So for all they knew, they might have just glanced and thought I was reading the same book for like for like 2 months or something because I'm a little kid and I'm dumb.
So they thought you were drawing corpses. They were like this.
They just thought I was drawing this psychotic, like edgy shit for no reason.
How old were you?
Oh my god, like 2nd, 3rd grade. How do you do the math on that?
That's the most. Oh, you 2nd, 3rd grade. You're like 9 or 10.
Yeah, maybe a little young.
You start 1st grade when you're 6 or 7.
Between, I was young. I might have been like 8 or 9. I was definitely in a range where it was like, it was a weird range. It wasn't like when you're 10 or you're like 11, 12 and you're like drawing like he's got a gun. It was the fact that it was like really primitive looking, but it had a weird like, because I was thinking of Goosebumps, so I just have like the taglines on the books where it says stuff like it's gonna get you, like watch out for the zombie man. So with all these weird little drawings I made, I had to make sure there was a caption on them. So it was stuff like evil never dies or it watches while I sleep, and it just had like this stuff like that over these little kid drawings of just weird shit. And so my mom came into my room one day with these just sprawled all over the floor. And because my dad had agreed for the fan club thing, my mom didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
So she just sees all this stuff, like the skeletons and everything like that. And she picked up the gravestone one specifically, because I remember that one. And she went, evil never dies. This seems kind of satanic.
Like a scene out of Seven.
Yeah, it was like because to me, I'm just drawing Goosebumps shit. To my mom, she's in Insidious because she doesn't know where this is coming from. Oh, I love in horror movies and they have like the kid draw something and it looks like the
Babadook.
Yeah, I love when it looks like a $900 piece of concept art instead of like a little kid drawing something.
Yes.
Like, who's your friend? It's like, oh, it's him, and it's some fucking Warhammer Fantasy ass like concept art of a skeleton.
They're like, he lives in the closet, and it's the perfect drawing.
Exactly. So that creeped them out, and they're like, okay, you need to chill on this Goosebumps thing. Like you need to not rent a different book for like the next 2 weeks.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Did you hone your drawing capabilities? Like further from that point on? Can you draw?
No. This was like I don't want to say it was a frenzy, but it was like I had little kid energy. The Goosebumps box came. I gotta draw Goosebumps.
To this day, dude, for this episode, will you draw me a Goosebumps cover?
I could open MS Paint and try.
Hell yes, dude. Draw a Goosebumps cover for me. I would love to see it.
Okay. I'm not gonna do the branding on it.
Okay.
I could try to recreate the one I made as a little kid.
Yeah, draw one, and I'll Photoshop it and make it into like an actual Goosebumps cover, and we can have that.
This should be easy to recreate. I'll give you my exact replica of what got me in trouble.
I as a child, I wasn't really big into books much at all, but I read
Lord of the Rings.
It was because of Lord of the Rings. My dad liked 2 series of books that he liked a lot, and those were the series of books that I read, and I started reading with, because those are the books we had in the house. And one of them was Lord of the Rings, and one of them was a much worse book to start off with. It was the Anne Rice Vampire Diaries series.
Really? What the fuck? What was your literature level so high?
It was, dude. I got picked on in I guess it's kindergarten. It was before 1st grade. Whatever it is before 1st grade, I think that's kindergarten. That's not preschool.
Because you're reading Anne Rice, not World of Darkness.
No, for yes, that's right. for reading the newspaper. I brought the newspaper to school, and I didn't really understand the concept that like all of it was real, and I would just read it as like they were characters, like I was keeping up with. Like I kept up with what Clinton was doing.
like Bill Clinton's in Garfield.
Yeah, I thought he was like a fictional character. I didn't understand the concept of he was like the president. And I thought he was like this wacky guy who gets up to different stuff, and he goes to other countries.
Bill Clinton's just your like personal Mr. Magoo funny comic. Never letting my kids read Lord of the Rings first.
Yeah, never let
This
them
is the fate that awaits them.
The Vampire Diaries series, like the Interview with the Vampire and the Vampire Lestat specifically. I really liked the Vampire Lestat a lot as a child because he kills like a wolf at the beginning or something. And I thought that was so cool. That and Gollum.
Like Queen of the Damned and all the...
I don't think we had Queen of the Damned. Whichever...
Few people did, so yeah.
We had the Vampire Lestat, the Interview with the Vampire, Memnock the Devil, skipped Queen of the Damned, and then went straight into what the other one was, the Barrow Witches or something like that.
Right.
Did you ever read those books?
I think I stopped at Queen of the Damned. I think that was the last one I read.
I don't blame you.
Well, the thing is, it's not the movie.
No.
But I mean, I still haven't seen the I know they're doing the show. I still haven't seen it. The
of what?
The Interview with the Vampire one.
Are they doing a show?
Yeah, it just finished its first season last year, I think. Yeah, they redid Interview with the Vampire, which I haven't seen it, but movie version was great. Tom Cruise was a good Lestat.
Yeah, Tom Cruise fucking killed it, man. It was fantastic. That was some of the... that was... As a kid, I remember my dad showing me that, and I was really scared of, like, the dead little girl in the movie. Now that I think about it, why did my dad show me that? I think because he knew that I knew what it was, and he was like, he's read the book or whatever.
He's read the book. It'll be cool.
It's weird if you read a book as a child, you don't really like understand the concept of some of the stuff that's in it. Like I could physically read it, but I could not understand the concept of what I was reading. My favorite thing out of Lord of the Rings was when Gollum bit off Frodo's finger and then fell into the volcano.
That was your favorite part?
That was my favorite part as a child. I would get my dad to read that to me every single night before I could read. That was what I wanted to hear before I would go to sleep.
Your dad's like, this kid needs a newspaper. He needs to catch up with the real world.
Yeah, we need to get this guy interested in Bill Clinton. Oh,
you can't make a career out of getting your finger bitten off and all-yooping into a volcano.
My dad's a weird guy. I don't know if we talked about it the last one of these that we did. But
I don't remember if it was in the podcast. You've mentioned him before, and he sounds like a character.
He's quite a character, dude. He's a fun guy. I think he burned all of the Anne Rice books after he converted to Catholicism.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, somehow the Lord of the Rings still survived, but you were raised in the Bible Belt.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the weirdest, actually I learned this from my friends recently, because like you'd hear about, no Harry Potter because of witchcraft, or the family doesn't celebrate Halloween. It's like fairly typical. One of my friends, his grandmother's family did not allow them to read the Chronicles of Narnia.
Why?
He did it on his own. His family was fine with it. But his grandma was super not okay with Narnia.
Why not?
Which is exactly because I guess the preface for people who don't know, C.S. Lewis was a very devout Christian, and those themes they're all through Narnia. Like Aslan is literally Christ.
Yeah, he's Lion Jesus.
Yeah, he's the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He's literally Christ in the story. He's like, oh, you'll know me in your world by a different name, and that was the wonder and beauty of Aslan for most people, and that pissed his grandma off specifically because she said, you're not reading that because Aslan is idolatry.
That's like a 40K idea of he's like the emperor, but he's a lion. And we're gonna convert these tribals who believe in this lion god, and we're just gonna say that's the emperor. Actually, you know what? That's just normal religion, I guess, in general.
I was just so thrown off by it because it's like it's C.S. Lewis, which and it's not it's not really idolatry because he literally is Jesus.
Yes.
It's like so some wires got crossed somewhere, to where it's like, oh no, Aslan's idolatry, which threw me off so far. And I never knew this until like way later. Probably like the last year we somehow got to talking about it. She's like, oh yeah, it's just like my grandma was not cool with Narnia, because I think we were talking about the like one of our other friends, like one of his parents was in the don't celebrate Halloween camp.
Why? It was just they were extremists?
No, you would have they were not really extremists. You just had some who were like, oh, because it's sort of a celebration of, quote unquote, it's a celebration of like wickedness and the demons and ghosts.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, oh, we better not catch you eating candy or anything. It was more like, we're not gonna have trick-or-treaters over, we're not gonna dress up, we're gonna turn out the lights and just do whatever. But
I had a friend whose grandmother thought that it was Satan's birthday.
Yeah, I would hear that one too. I don't know if it's from any of like the band Halloweenless people, but I heard that one as well.
That's like a Chick track thing, right? Like that was originally a Jack Chick like bit.
I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that's like it just sort of gets around like as an excuse to. Cause I know there definitely is some historical thing of like, oh, like witchcraft, like it's the Devil's Day and all that.
Well, I mean, it is Mandalore.
Highly recommend Halloween 3 for the real spirit of Halloween. But
is Halloween 3 the one with the masks?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Fun movie. Very fun movie about the true meaning of Halloween.
Well, you're on a review channel, Mandalore. What would you give it out of 10?
Oh, I don't... It's hard to give it a number. It's like a... it's like a 7.
It's like a 7? I always assumed it was like a so bad that it's good movie. Is it actually a good movie?
It has interesting ideas in it. It has some really... I can't even spoil it, but what happened... Because like every other Halloween movie was about Michael Myers. And the idea was, oh, instead of doing Michael Myers every year, we can make like a... Halloween will be an anthology series about something weird that'll happen on Halloween. And so Halloween 3 is just this completely different psychotic movie. And it's a lot of fun because no one knows, like, people went in expecting Michael Myers and they got whatever the fuck Halloween 3 is.
Is it by the same guy?
John Carpenter, he didn't direct it, but he did like he produced it, he wrote the screenplay, he did editing for it, he did the soundtrack for the whole movie. He basically did everything short of directing on it. But a lot of the same people were remaining on it.
John Carpenter's the guy who did The Thing, right?
Mm-hmm. And he did the first Halloween.
Did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did he did direct, he did the soundtrack. Like the Halloween theme everyone knows, he did that super last second because they basically didn't have the music. So he just got his keyboard and went like and he just came up with the Halloween theme.
How did you learn all these Halloween facts, Mandalore?
I don't know. I think again, you start Goosebumps is where they get you. That's the gateway to where you learn about John Carpenter.
Are you big into horror? Are you just a horror guy?
Yeah, I definitely go harder during the proper Halloween season. But I think it's because I grew up being fucking horrified by terrifying movies my dad would show me to fuck with me.
Like what?
And then there's like the big one was Alien. He showed that to me when I was far too young. But I also, there was a movie. What was it called? It was by the guy who did, was it Peter Benchley? Who did Jaws?
What, The Theme?
Oh, okay. No. There was a mini-series in 1998, which I definitely saw a little later, that was called Peter Benchley's Creature. And it was the author of Jaws. And so people were like, oh, it's like his new Jaws. And the whole premise was, oh, there's a weird shark-human hybrid, I think. I don't remember the details, but it was a shark that could come on land. And it walked like a man.
Really trying to juice that Jaws money, huh?
Yeah. Well, I guess he's gone on record as saying he really regrets Was either Peter Benchley, I think? It wasn't the director. He really regrets writing Jaws, apparently, because it, like, really fucked with how people see sharks.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Definitely.
Yeah, because it's like, oh no, it's like they're not like this, but then tons of people thought that.
Peter Benchley is the writer of the novel Jaws.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is this is the creature in the movie, or the miniseries, I guess. And this thing scared the fuck out of me.
Future Patrick, put up a picture of the creature from, what is this?
Peter Benchley's creature.
Peter Benchley's
creature from Creature.
The creature from Creature. Future Patrick, put up a picture of the creature from Creature. Thank you.
Yeah, because I always had a thing about not liking dark water, because I saw when I was out swimming at a local like water hole, there was a water moccasin in the water. It's like a venomous snake. Because I thought it was a turtle in the water, and I swam up to it, and it was the snake, and it turned its head towards me, and it like opened its mouth, and then went boop under the water. And I lost my shit.
That would be scary, dude.
Oh, yeah. I was paddling towards shore. How
old were you?
Oh, man, I don't know. I might have been 6 or 7.
6? What were you doing out there?
It wasn't too far. Like, there was this cove. It's like a pretty still lake. And there's like this little cove. There's like this park. So, like, parents are there. I was out there with some friends. Well, when I say out with my friends, it's more like a play date with my parents. So I was maybe, I don't know, 10 feet offshore, and it's like shallow. But I was going out a bit trying to see this, what I thought was a turtle's head poking out. And instead it was a snake. But anyways, since then I had a thing about dark water, and I was like, oh man, there's like creatures down there. There's things that are going to get me. And then I'm like, okay, but I don't swim in the dirty lake that often, or any rivers or creeks, so I'll be fine. And then I watched the fucking show where the shark is coming out of the water and climbing onto trees and dropping down on people. I'm like, this is horrible. The sea creatures are making it on land now, and I'll never be safe again.
Really tied it into your fucking Goosebumps stuff.
Yeah, which, speaking of, I have just finished my recreation of the picture that got me in fucking trouble. I've tried to keep it as accurate as possible.
That's so good, dude. Future Patrick, put up the picture of Mandalore's book cover. I'm gonna put like the Goosebumps logo and everything on it.
Yeah, that's fine. But that is the best approximation I can make of it. I've tried to keep it as accurate as possible.
It's fantastic, dude. This is awesome. This upset your mother?
Yeah. Well, because it wasn't just that one. It was like a whole bunch of them. And this might even be nicer. I'm sure it looked much more like streaked up and weird, because it wasn't like MS Paint where I could just fill the color in. But
sketched out.
Yeah, I think because it was just like the 180, like if you didn't know, like if your dad came in and you didn't know you're reading Lord of the Rings, and you just had like pictures of Gollum everywhere, and like this little creature like biting this dude's finger off.
Yeah.
Like this dude falling into a volcano, he'd be like, what the fuck is this?
And I'd be like, Daddy, this is my favorite part of the book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like what's wrong with my kid?
Well, we're getting at the time where we've pretty much got time for one episode. Do you want to do another one of these, or you need to go?
Oh, sure, we can keep going a while. I'm good.
All right. Well, for this one, we're just going to end this episode here. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll have another episode with Mandalore coming up soon. Just keep on the lookout for that.